Hello guys, welcome to my channel Earn Money. In this episode, we are going to do Pine script. It is going to be a full hour where I am going to focus on how to write a script on Pine script. That is the one that gets most of the people viewing. Yeah, I prepared the session with the one that was winning, which was multi-indicator strategy backtesting. So I am going to try to do my best to cover also the top one at the end of the video. But since that is not prepared, I am going to start with multiple indicator backtesting strategy, and it is going to be oriented to beginners. So let us get started. I am going to explain what we are going to do, and I had a little chat with ChatGPT, and I was wondering, multiple strategies that we can look into that combine multiple indicators. But there is one thing that I am not going to include in this session, which is multiple time frames. Okay, that puts one level of complexity higher because multiple time frame means that we need to be dealing with repainting, but that no multiple time frame doesn't have repainting. But repainting can get a lot more tricky because multiple time frames is the perfect recipe to do your first repairing ever. What is repainting? Repainting is when you do a strategy or an indicator that even after intra-candle action repaints some decisions done in the past. So we know that intra-candle things are expected to move that is not repainting. Okay, repainting is post the intra-candle. The candle already settled and you still see in the back things moving, that is, for example, a buy signal, a sell signal telling you 3 candles ago it was a busy, but you refresh the chart and suddenly the buy signal is done, and that is because you are doing a look ahead. You are looking into data in the future to print 3 candles ago, and then when you settle the future candles, well, it is a little bit confusing. But today's session is not about that. We are going to keep that complexity out of the way, and we are going to focus just on combining multiple indicators with different lengths, different parameters, different types of indicator. And I got a few candidates in here, but I decided to go for the first one. It is just so simple. It is full of value. I am going to give you a spoiler alert. I am not going to focus on how profitable it is. I am not going to make it profitable. I am not going to work trying to aim to, let us fix it you. That takes a lot more than an hour, and for that I use optimization. I use other techniques, and I get a lot more complex too. So this is a beginner friendly is how to write a combination of indicators with multiple conditions into a single strategy, and then see it working and troubleshooting the things, the problems that we are going to have. I am sure we will have some problems and we will try to solve them together. Okay, ideally, you have your laptop with you and you have already TradingView and you are ready to start doing your first lines of code. There has been already 2 episodes of this and they are in a playlist in YouTube. If not, ask me in the community and you can find them for you if you cannot find them. So I said we are going to go for trend, surf and snapback. In this particular strategy, as you can already see, we are going to use a long EMA as a trend filter. Usually you go for the 200, the 100, 300, even 300. people use it. Oh, this is independent of the time frame, right? So in whichever time frame you are, 200 mA should be a long considered, a long trend filter. Then we are going to get an RSI. Oh, we could play with an RSI fast. RSI 5 is very fast. 14 is standard, and we can use different levels as a threshold to enter on a long or to enter on a short. Yeah, 25 is oversold, 75 is overbought. Then we can use the Bollinger Band as well with standard parameters. And when we reclaim the lower band, we could enter a deal as long as we are oversold and as long as we are in an uptrend. And I am going to introduce use of ATR to do some sort of trailing, and that is how complex I am going to get. Today. Um, and yeah, we this is just too verbose. So let us get just started. Let us inspect what the entries are so we can fully visualize what we are trying to achieve. For example, I left a line here at level 30 and I went for 30 because 25 makes just too little signals. So I consider oversold below 30. I went for 30 and I placed that line there. You can see the RSI is below it. So that is one of the conditions. And the second condition, let me bring in all the plots, is that there is a Bollinger Band, and let me find a place where it is more clear. Yeah, for example, in here you see the lower Bollinger Band, and then you see a green candle that is reclaiming that Bollinger Band as support because the close, let us magnify it. It is kind of above the blue line, right? So we close above it. So what is the snapback? That I think these people are calling it snapback is a reclaim of the lower band with a candle going up because in the previous one we were closing below, in the next one we are closing above. That is our signal that together with being below 30 and together with oh, being above the long term oh, moving average, yeah, just by a millimeter, but we are above the red line, that is the 200 MA 8. So it is quite a peaky entry. It has got a long of list of things. It is not going to be the best strategy for BTC, even though kind of Chobite is trying to sell me the idea that this works great with BTC in 1 hour, but it doesn't really. So that is that is that is just a detail, right? We want to learn Pine script. We want to learn how to do this, and we focus on improving the strategy. So I am going to create a separate layout somewhere else. Let us call it a test and just start from scratch. And let us create a strategy. We oh oh there were some changes in here. No. Okay. Cool. This is going to be called yeah. It is just save it as live stat, and when you get that you get boilerplate code, just a template. And it is basically just doing something so you can see. You can even add it to the chart and you see it like that. You can see that it is a strategy that takes longs and shorts, but basically we are not going to use any of that, and we are going to change the name to loose trad. If I save it with, in this case I am on Mac, so when I save it, I use command S and it is already going to complain because we are not really doing anything. Let me remove all these comments. I don't care about those comments. We are using Pine version 6 and let us start with the beginning. Okay, what do we need? We need EMA, RSI, Bollinger Band, ATR, need a ton of things. So this part I think is a waste of time. I am not going to code this. These are the inputs. The inputs are basically implementing, capturing from the user numbers that you want the user to control, right? We have two options. We can bake in those numbers statically here in the code itself, but then we cannot interact with this menu. We cannot change things. We need to be saving the script every time we change a number, and that is annoying. So it is good to have inputs, and I am not going to bother you on how to write all of this. It is going to take 10 minutes of video and it is always the same, right? Input. This one is an int. Some of them are going to be floating point numbers with a comma. Well, in Spanish is comma, in English is a dot, but you get the point. And in line it means that it is going to place uh, multiple inputs in the same line. It is going to try to do that at least. So we are capturing parameters for the EMA. The length is going to be 200 by default. The RSI length 5. The length of the Bollinger Band 20. The deviation of the bands of the Bollinger Band as well. We have a multiplier of 2 later. Uh, when once we see the performance of the strategy, we can very comfortable, use the menu and change those numbers and see if it improves in a manual way. Some people use also extensions in Chrome to do that. Personally, if I am going to step into optimization into finding what parameters maximize performance, then I don't even use PineScript. I use Python, and I let the thing. I burn a little bit of CPU you to find the best parameters. But remember that is very risky to do optimize, because when you optimize your strategy works well in a specific time, and most likely you are incurring into over optimization issues. Oh, that means that you trade with that live and your performance is really bad, really poor. Okay, so we got our menu. We got that. We still have an error. Why do we have an error? Well, because this is a strategy, and at least we should call any function a strategy. You cannot declare that you are going to do strategy and you don't do anything. Pine gets annoyed. It expects you to do something, but let us carry on building this thing. So, we are going to need an EMA and we want to plot it. We want to see it and we want to change the color. We want to do bunch of things with that. So I am going to create an EMA and I am going to call it EMA1. Why? Because I might have an EMA2 later if I want to play with another EMA. So every time that you need to do some TA, you start with TA dot, and here it is. I type E and I get immediately a list of every function in TA technical analysis that start with E, and then I hit enter and it auto completes and an EMA. If I stay there, I see immediately the documentation, so I don't even have to remember anything. and I haven't written pine in months. But I know immediately that I need a source. The source, the default is close. The closing price is what we typically use for any. So I am just going to write close as soon as I type comma. You see that the next parameter goes in blue reminding me that comes next. Am I going to write in here 14? No, I am going to use one of the inputs because we need to wire up what the user picked in the menu to the calculation of the EMA. So, where is my length of EMA? Let us look into the inputs we already have. It is called EMA lane 1. There you go. So, I type again EM and I get autocomplete to offer me everything that starts with that. And we got straight away that enter. Let us continue. Let us speed up. Let us calculate RSI 1 as well. TARSI and source is again close length. We got a length for the RSI there. The input in the line number 8 and we need to do Bollinger Band. Bollinger Bands are going to be a bit more interesting to calculate. We are going to calculate first the middle line of the Bollinger Band. Remember the Bollinger Band has three moving averages. The middle one is going to be TA and we are going to calculate it with an SMA. Okay, well, that is the standard way of calculating the central line of the Bollinger Band with the close, and we need a length and we do have a length. Yeah, BB length 1. Cool. And now that we have the middle line, we need to calculate the standard deviation, and for that we are going to do STD1 and we do TA standard deviation with the close with the length. We need Bollinger Band length and bias. Yeah, I am not sure if bias is optional. Do I need bias for this? What if I save like this? Okay, I don't seem to have a problem with that yet. Let me cheat a little bit. Yeah, there should not be any problem. We don't need to be biased, and that I have standard deviation calculated. We are going to use it to calculate the upper and the lower bands. One is the multiplier against the standard deviation. So we add that to the middle band and we get the upper one. And if we deduct that from the middle band, we get the lower band. Let us do that. The upper band and the lower band are going to be like this. And so for this, we are going to use the middle band and the upper is plus standard deviation multiplied by the multiplier which in case is my 2. That 2 is my multiplier and it is this. So all I need to do is now is for the lower band instead of adding it using a minus. So I get the two bands. I have EMA, RSI, Bollinger Band. What else do I need? I need ATR. I am going to use the ATR for my trailing stop loss. It is. It is good to know how to do trading. There are multiple ways to do trailing. There is a way that PineScript calculates the trailing for you. You can give it straight to strategy and say you do the trailing, right? And I am going to just calculate it for you in the entry and then you trail it. But I want you to see how to calculate it. You are not going to learn anything if you delegate everything to PineScript, especially when you are getting started. Neither if you start doing on day one everything with ChatGPT. Remember, ChatGPT is going to dry your brain. If you don't learn anything and you delegate everything to ChatGPT, you just become dumb. You need to really get the core, the fundamental, the pillars of the understanding things. Otherwise, ChatGPT is going to give you any scrap answer, and you are not even going to know if ChatGPT is wrong and don't want to be there. And just 5 minutes ago, I asked ChatGPT to do the trailing and it did it all wrong. But I saw the code and I noticed it was wrong. But imagine yourself if you never done anything in PineScript. How do you know that the trailing is wrong? And you deploy that with your own money. So get to learn a little bit of PineScript and at least identify basic things and what is going on in the code before you fully delegate, all your brain activity to AI, or you want to get dismissed ATR. Let us calculate it ATR, and it just requires a link, and we got a link there. So it is called risk ATR link. Yeah, perfect. We got the link, and I think we are kind of ready to start doing the actual strategy, right? So let us call it a long signal when to enter. We are going to calculate when to enter. We already said that we want to be in an uptrend. So what does it mean to be in an uptrend? That the closing price is closing above the EMA. Okay, so it is as simple as close above EMA. Now we need more than that. We are not just going to enter because of this single thing. We need multiple conditions, and we want the RSI to the above certain threshold, and our threshold is let us use 30. As I say, RSI 1 needs to be above 30. There you go. Second condition done. Now we need the most interesting condition, which is how do we say that we cross above the lower Bollinger Band. Basically, let us visualize it here. I think I show you before this, but just in case, because it is always good to have a mental picture of what you are doing before you do it in the code, because the code is so abstract. Then you see the code and it doesn't rely fit. And here, for example, you are the Bollinger Band. You see the Bollinger Band. The price close is right below it, and in the next candle slightly above it. So that is a crossover. But I am not going to do it with the function crossover. I want you to think about what is the condition that we are looking for. We are looking for a candle that just closed above the current candle, and we are looking for the previous candle to be below that level. That is what we are looking for. If you can express it in English very quickly, you can also put it in a condition with practice, of course. So the close needs to be above what the lower band right BP down H, that is the current candle. So the current close is above the lower band, and in the close one candle ago you write it like that. If you want three candles, you put like this in the past. In this case, the previous needs to be below that same value. So now it is above and the previous was below. And we get the full condition. But this variable has that condition now inside. We can think about it whether that thing is going to say yes or no in the current candle, whether we need to be enter or not. But we are still not in a position. We need to interact with the object of the Pine script called strategy to be able to do things in the strategy. So the object strategy contains tons of things that you can do. Variable numbers, the position average price, entry name, percent of equity that you are using, open profit, percentage in profit, all the things whether you want to consult that query, that object, or if you want to action things, or even to live here, it is going to be your stop loss, your stop loss limit. Everything that you can do in the exchange, you can in theory do it with strategy. So we are going to do an entry and we need to give it a name to the entry. So I am going to call it, just for simplicity, I am going to call it long. And here I need to have an object strategy long to declare that. That is what we want to do. And I think, do I need anything else? Disable alert. Alert comment stop limit quantity. We are going to control the quantity, but we are going to control it from the menu for simplicity. But you could here micromanage this thing and give it everything. Let me see how I did it, because I want to keep it in the same way. So my entry, I think I did it. Yeah, I did just like that. It is very simple. It just need two parameters. But when we do enter, we cannot just enter at any time. So we need to say if there is a long signal, then enter. And what is going to happen is trade analysis. Total open trades 1. How many trades we have taken? 1, and it is a long. Why is just 1? Why is still open? Because all we did is say if the condition is met, enter. Yeah. So in theory, if I go back in time, if my eyes are working, I am going to find one position in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So in theory, if I go back in time, if my eyes are working, I am going to find one position in the middle of nowhere, never exiting, and potentially in profit. So we are in the 1 hour time frame. Good. I think, oh, let me do something intelligent and go to the list of trades and click. Yeah, there you go. So if you click on this nowadays, it takes you there, and now we are 70,000 in profit. But we can click in the object strategy and we can go into properties, and let us review what settings are being used, because in the strategy object at the top of the file I did not put anything. I did not specify initial capital. I did not specify commission, nothing. So in PineScript you can do it from the code explicitly there in the code, and if you want you can do it from here, or you can do it in both places. So whatever is in the code then appears here, and then you can tweak it further from the menu itself. So let us do $1,000, and the size of the order I am just going to pick something random percentage of equity. So we are going to use the full 1000 on the first trade. If we close it, realize profit on the second trade is going to use again 100% of it, not 000. So that will be 10x leverage. And commission, just let us just give it unrealistic, zero commission. Let us say you go lucky, so this 1000 so far now is almost 2000 in profit unrealized, and it is moving with the price because it is an open position that we haven't taken care of closing. Let us go into the code, and yeah, we haven't closed anything. So we are going to work now on closing the deal. To exit a deal, we can do anything we want. We can use an indicator to exit. For example, we can say when once we are above the middle band of the Bollinger Band, we exit. we can say if I am 3% in profit, I close. We can say when we are 2 times ATR, I close. We can say let us place a trailing stop loss and let us move with that as high as we can, and that is the one we are going to do today, because I think in the previous sessions I already did some of the previous one. Just 1 second, sorry. And so we are going to do the trading, and for the trailing we are going to need this ATR. We are going to place with this risk multiplier 2.5 times the ATR below the price, to 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 have the trailing stop loss. So far this strategy is just long. So how can we do that? We have the ATR. I am going to use the object strategy exit. So the strategy exit allows me to refer to a previous entry by its original name and say under which conditions and how much of it I want to close. I can close partially or I can close fully. Here we are going to close fully. Okay, and so I need to give it a name, and I am going to call it I don't know exit. No, trading SL. That is going to be the name, and I need to apologize. Can I get the menu again? Yeah. From entry, from the entry. The entry was called, as you remember, it was called long. So we are exiting from that long, and we are going to use a stop, and now we need that price. Where do we locate that stop? So once it hits, it closes the deal. And as I said, we are going to locate it at this amount of times ATR below the price. So we are going to calculate some variable that is called long stop. This is my stop price for my long, and it is going to be calculated as the close price, and we need to put it below the close, right? So if it goes below that level, we need to place that stop loss somewhere below. So is close minus ATR, which I already calculate multiplied by the multiplier. So 2.5 into ATR below the closing price, and then that long stop I am going to place it there, and let us see if it closes somewhere. So you can see this long enter here, and it trailed all the way here. This long trail there. Some of them are going to take losses. We can see in the strategy that there are plenty of losses and wins and stuff, but I am seeing this working, right? And you get the chat GPT, and then you look at the strategy tester, and then you think, well, it is not working that well. But do you notice something? We just get entries and exits. Nothing is telling us if this is really working well. There could be 1,000 things in here that are broken, but it is just fully under the carpet. We have no clue what this thing is doing. So we need to get some visuals. I want to see the indicators. I want to see that my entry is happening at the right time. I want to spend some time getting familiar with that, what the strategy is doing, and confirming if it is correctly doing things. So I am going to start printing some stuff, and in PineScript and in general in TradingView you know two areas where you can put things. You can put things. I just want a standard RSI. Well, let us get any. This one, for example, this one is in a separate panel relative to the price. So when some indicator is printing in here is called overlay. When it is true, it prints stuff here. When overlay is false, it prints in a separate panel. So that That is just the way TradingView works. Let us get rid of the volume. So now I have to display multiple indicators. Can I put, for example, the Bollinger Band in here and the RSI in a separate panel coming from the same indicator? Yes, I think in Pine 4.5 they introduced that. Thanks to a small parameter where every time you plot you decide where to place it. Great. Super convenient. Let us go and do that. So MA, I am going to put it on top of the price because that is the place you should put it. So you can see it next to the price. RSI in a separate panel. Bollinger Band with the price and ATR. My trailing stop loss. I also want to see it. I want to see it in action. Oh, that also is going to be overlay. But look at this. My strategy says that overlay is true. Hmm. So what I am going to do is to make this false and another second I need. Sorry. So I just made it not overlay. And what I am going to do is to decide each one where I print it. So let us go with that. Let us start with the easiest one, which is let us plot the EMA. Let us plot the EMA, which is EMA 1. Let us do a color red and let us do force overlay. That is the magic parameter that allows me to control that force overlay true. So the way this works is that you make your strategy not overlay. So everything goes in panel, but you can force the overlay. So we are going to use that at our advantage by forcing the overlay of the EMA to be next to the price. But with the RSI, guess what? I am not going to force anything. I am just going to let it be the default at the moment, which is no overlay. Serious RSI one color. I don't care. So I am just going to leave it like that and let us save. And here is the RSI. Oh, it is not working. Yeah, it is not working because when you change the overlay of the strategy, you need to remove it from the chart and you need to add it again. So it fully refreshes and then it adds this new separate panel for the RSI and the MA remains there. So you see we have now strategies cut things in two separate areas and we can control it by using that parameter. So RSI out of the way. Now we go to the Bollinger Band. Bollinger Band is going to have three things. So I am going to use a little bit of copy pasting here. Bollinger Band midline. And I am going to force the overlay of course. Color. Do I want anything else? I am just going to stick with that and save it. Yeah, there it is, the central line. And for the other two lines, just copy paste and do BB up and BB down. There you go. That is our beautiful Bollinger Band. Notice that if you see the BB, the chart at some point and at some point you no longer are interested in seeing the Bollinger Band, you go to style of the strat and here you can control, temporarily hiding things that are bothering you. Hmm. That that is also useful. Now, oh, we got everything, but we still don't have the ATR. I want to see my trailing stop loss. For example, in this area, I want to see that it was trailing all the way up here. Then later, we can hide the Bollinger Band for a minute. Hmm. Actually, let us do it now. So, when the ATR appears, we can immediately see it. So, I am expecting to see something in these terms, something that goes up, up, up. and look at what is going on. These came back up, back down. So we got an error there. We are I haven't even put the ATR in the chart, but I already know that there is going to be an error. So I am preparing you for this kind of frustration, and we are going to solve it. We are going to solve it. So ATR, we need to basically plot the long stop. Long stop is where it is placed the trailing stop. So I am going to just go ahead and plot that long stop. But it is appearing here. No, it should be force overlay. Correct. There you go. And we need to hide all the crap again. And we just stay with this one. You see that they are all called plot. If you find yourself in that confusion because I am going too fast, you can add a parameter called title and then you call it ATR here inside. And then when you are here now, instead of being called plot, which is the difficult, it is going to be called ATR, which is much easier to then recognize among so many of them. So you can see at the moment we open the ATR started going up, price went up and trailing went down. That is not the behavior we want from the ATR. We want an ATR trading stop to stay there. Then we go up to stay, not to go down. So it should strictly go up. And once it reaches a high, if the price comes back down, it should have closed here and not here. Okay, now another story is that this one is performing better. It is performing better because it is higher risk, right? It only hits here and it is actually not even hitting properly the stop because it placed the stop in here, but then intra candle came back down in the next candle with the previous stop loss. So there is a bunch of things that need fixing anyways. Hmm. So how we are going to keep that ATR from never going lower? Because every candle we calculated in based on the close. So what we need to do is we need to keep track of the previous candle's long stop, and if it goes below it we don't change it. So we do what I was explaining. It only gets overridden if it goes up. If it wanted to go down, we just stay. We just stick with the value of the previous candle. So the pine script has variables that are serious. It is a series of values. Every candle has a next value and next value and next value, and you already saw how close. For example, you can say close 6 and you go 6 candles back because every variable in PineScript is a series. It tracks all the way back as if it was a spreadsheet that has columns with values back in time. It is very similar to that. So what I am going to do is I am going to make this be 0.0, and I am going to say if I am in a position. If I am already in a position, let us calculate the long stop either being the previous value or the same, because if it went down I want to keep the same. If I am not in a position, I am going to make long stop just turn into 0. So how do we do that? How do we know we are in a position? Who knows about the strategy? The strategy object. So you type strategy and you put dot and you get all this information. So to be in a position of size in theory different than 0. Yeah, let me see if I did it like that last time. There is other ways you can use the average price. You can use maybe PineScript way Version 6 already has a function much more elegant than what I am doing here. But historically, this is the way I used to do it. So, strategy position size different than 0. It means we are in a position. So, we should calculate the long stop and to recalculate in a series to write down the next value h in the next candle. You do it with this. So notice that this is just an equal and this is a dot equal. So by doing this, I am telling PineScript that all I am doing is I am writing the value for the next candle, but in the previous candle I am not touching it. Yeah, I am just extending the series, that is how to assign values to a series. So, uh, long stop is going to be max. Let us do the max. The max between the previous long stop, which is that, right? That is the previous long stop and long stop recalculated. We need to calculate long stop, which is all this calculation. So this is the new calculation of long stop, which could be lower, and this is the previous long stop. So we are going to stick with the maximum between those two. Yeah, that way we keep the previous one. If it is, if it is, if this is going lower, that is just a strategy. But we need to take care of something. The first time that we are going to do this long stop, one is going to have nothing. So why? Because when the strategy starts, it does not have an initial value. So the way we deal with that in PineScript, and sorry if this is going to sound a little bit complicated, but basically here I am going to say if it does not have a value or is not valuable, then oh, just default to 0. Otherwise, use the actual long stop. Oh, previous candle value. In that way, you can see now that is only increasing and then reaching this point where it closes the deal. And as soon as it closes the deal, my long stop goes to 0 and it goes to 0 because it is just defaulting to that. Let us actually make it explicit long stop if we are not in a position put in back to 0. And yeah, so tester, let us let us look at performance. This is going up, but let us never believe anything ever before checking. So let us put this into a 000. Order size is 100%. That is what we are going to use. Oh, pyramiding. It is actually doing good now. I mean, I might have done a mistake. This should not be doing that good. ATR, for example, this is a loss. Well, this is a win. This is a no. This is a loss. 2. This is kind of break even. Yeah, there are a few wins in here. Let us look at the performance, not trade analysis list of trades. There is plenty of losses. There must be one of them that really perform well. And maybe that is the case. Let us bring in again all the indicators to do a check on whether we are doing everything okay. It is as important as learning the language and the code of everything. Oh, to be able to see things and to spot what where is it doing something that is not what it is expected to do. So let us challenge everything it is doing. So in here, this candle close above the Bollinger Band on the lower end. We are above EMA and RSI. I need to know when we are below 30. So I am going to add something else to the strategy in here. where I print the RSI. I am going to add an horizontal line located at 30, and the horizontal line is in here. So, wait a second. This enter right there, and we are not below 30. So, could it be I did it upside down? RSI is above 30. It needs to be below 30. Hey, maybe that is going to perform better. Let us see. Oh my god, this is crazy. So basically, what I discovered accidentally on Bitcoin is that being oversold on the RSI 5 does not perform as good as not being oversold, which is to be above 30. That is crazy. Just a flip of gay sign makes this perform a lot better with a profit factor of 17, 43% profitable trades, which is poor, right? It is on the lower end. It is taking 160 trades, and let us see on other time frames, 4 hour, 8 hour, daily. It is coming down 15. No, it does not survive 15 minutes. And say, Dan, I got confused with UK time and CT and only came in right now. Oh, sorry, mate. But yeah, you can watch the recording. You can actually move it back in time and start from scratch. But it won't be live, of course. So yeah, this is working well. But obviously, I can intending to do this. That is what ChatGPT wanted. So you can change things from the code. You can change things directly from the strategy. Like, for example, we can change some inputs and see how it goes with a 50 EMA, and you can keep this like that. So we see what is the effect of changing things. Of course, there is always the risk of the overfitting, right? Changing a few parameters here and there is not going to have a huge effect. Now I am in love with the opposite in terms of overfitting. Changing here and there some parameters is not that big of a deal. The things that cause overfitting obviously is the number one reason is to use optimization. So if you use optimization, you have a high likelihood of being overfitted, which means that you are just seeing something that shines in a period, but in any other period, it does horribly bad. It is married to the that period, that is overfitting. And if how to avoid overfitting, well, that has been a topic for a long time. But the principles of not overfitting are usually around use less indicators, do an optimization that works in a more extended period, and ultimately confirm use techniques to detect overfitting. So you can say, okay, this was overfitted, and you just scrap it before the actual strategy starts losing money in the market, which is already too late. Oof. Or do paper trading as well for an extended period of time, and having too many indicators and then using optimization together is almost the best way to get wrecked, because almost 99% of the time is going to lead you into overfitting and into just losses, just paper results, and then real money losses. So keep it with less indicators, something that really has an alpha, and use something that is not just TA, right? Using purely TA is extremely overcrowded at the moment. Every single retail uses TA because that is pretty much all they have got. Okay, so it is good to use sources of data that are beyond TA, like do an RSI of the number of longs, number of shorts, liquidation levels, order flow, whatever is available to you. Oh, you are going to be better off than just doing TA on TradingView. Let us cover a little bit of how to do strategies on ChatGPT. I do not do strategies on ChatGPT, and I am going to tell you why. Sorry to complain so much, but I need to depass on the experience, right? Hey, if the experience was not good, I am going to tell you that I am not going to give you crap content. And if you just tell ChatGPT do this and you copy paste it in here, hey, first it is not going to compile, then you are going to fix the compiling issues, then there will be 10 errors that you don't know, and you are not good at coding, so you won't see, so you will inherit and take with you to a real account. So be aware of that. Number one. Number two. Oh, Chat GPT. At least in the way that most people are going to use it for this. Does not have a loop of a virtuous loop. I don't know how to say that in English. It is like the opposite of vicious circle. Yeah. Oh, anyways, we need a good loop. We need a positive reinforcing loop that is automated. We need AI to make changes to the code, to put the code somewhere. We need AI to execute it and to know that it messed up. It needs to know by itself. So by itself it can fix the issue and then put a new version in an automated way without you having a copy back and forward back and forth back and forward. Hmm, that that is ideal, and that is why I prefer the combination of codes. That is just one example. You can go for Gemini CLI or whatever, something that runs in the terminal that reads the code directly in Python from your files, and then you tell this thing, build a strategy, backtest it, optimize it, test overfitting, do the whole thing, and I'm going to be back when you are done. Okay, and finish it and make me money. I don't want to get you foaming into that idea too quickly, because it requires also your own part. At least AI haven't got there to just do it by itself. It still requires someone knowing what the hell we are doing. But that setup is a lot faster to get something working than ChatGPT. Now, if you insist with using ChatGPT, after all the bad news I said, basically you need to ask for the strategies. I don't know. This was the prompt that I asked. Oh, basically I asked for something standard that many people use just for the sake of educational purposes. ChatGPT won't know what works, what really performs. It will just made up things. It will tell you that this is high likely going to work with your memo coin, and then you test it and it won't right. But it is it is very educational really to learn how to put all those things together to understand how it works. And any prompt that you say just build, I tend to say build a strategy that uses basic indicators, use a combination of indicators that belong to different domains. For example, don't combine only indicators of momentum. Attempt to build indicators that complement and that bring in new value. For example, volume with momentum with breakout indicators, support and resistance, and combine them in a clever way so that we get an exposure to, higher time frames, lower time frames. We haven't gotten to that yet. Different lengths, like for example a long-term EMA with something more sniper kind of indicator. And then I asked also ChatGPT to not just consider purely the entry but to also consider risk management, positioning, sizing. And I ask for risk management in terms of stop loss trailing, stop loss adding to the position, reducing the size of the position under certain circumstances. And I stay away as much as I can from DCing at just by deviations. IDCA with TA with new fresh signals that are high quality. So we get a stream of signals that the price comes down. The first one did not play out. The second did not play out. The third did not play out. Eventually one will play out. That is kind of idea if I am going to if I have a DCA. And yeah, that is pretty much how I ask for things. Hmm. When I ask for something in PineScript, if I want to do it with clauses, I say all of this, but I say subject to certain performance that I am expecting, subject to certain levels of overfitting that I am willing to risk. And then he is going to be in charge then letter of validation those aspects as well, which in my opinion are extremely important. You cannot skip them, and we run out of time. I hope that last wrap up of chat gpt made any sense. I did not write any actual prompt. I just explained how I built them. Oh, again, thanks. Thank you. I am learning loads from these sessions. Oh, I enjoy teaching. This is my bread and butter. I am the happiest during the day when I am teaching something. Oh, so I cannot believe I am doing this for money. I love it. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.